My name is Karen Smith. I'm a driver examiner supervisor. I work for Missouri State Highway Patrol, and I'm stationed Troop C. It's exciting. It's really exciting to come to work and know that you have people that have the same mindset. They've come to do a job and make sure that it's done to the best of their ability for the 8 hours that we're there together. And that we have a cohesiveness. We come together and we work as a family because we need each other for those 8 hours. I get to see the excitement of the 15-year-olds that come in and take the written test to get a permit. I get to see the older people that come in that have to retake the test, but I'm able to give them that test and they're able to continue driving and have their freedom. And then also being able to test people that do CDL, that they're able to continue their careers as well. I love the Highway Patrol. I've been excited about that thing, like I said, since my mom worked here. If somebody came to me, my advice would be, this is the best organization that I've ever worked for.
Every little second matters. 2 seconds before you leave your house to buckle your seatbelt can alter your life forever. I think it's really important to hold my friends accountable for wearing their seatbelts, because if I wasn't wearing mine, I would have died. I was driving to school one morning, and the roads were icy and snowy, and I was driving over a bridge, and my back tires lost traction. It went off the road and flipped into a ditch. I remember going to reach to unclick my seatbelt. I could have been dead at that point. Everybody was telling me it could have been so much worse, and if I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, it would have been so much worse. I would say that seatbelts are the most important safety feature your car has.
The day before her high school graduation, our daughter went to go meet a boy, and she never made it. He was texting her directions on where to go. And I guess she just looked away too long. 3 little words, where are you at?
I investigated Mariah's fatal traffic crash where she crossed the median and struck a bridge. First thing I noticed when I got to the scene was her shoes lying in the road, and then I noticed her cap and gown was still in the car. It was a tragic crash scene, and all because of a senseless text message. Please don't text and drive. It can wait.
I came to the Highway Patrol after leaving from the Greyhound bus driver. I was driving a bus for Greyhound, and I wanted to spend more time at home with my children and with my wife, and just be on the home front a lot more. It's a fulfilling and a rewarding job. It's a unique job. It's a diverse job. It's a job that holds a lot of different variety. It's a job that is secure, and I guess probably this may sound a little cliche-ish, but the best part of this job is actually the people, because the people truly are dedicated to their job, whatever their different positions might be, but we all work together on a unified front to make sure that the people in the state of Missouri are served and are at a place to where they know that someone is looking out for them.
On the field, we're rivals, but when it comes to safety on our nation's highways, we're a powerhouse team.
No matter where you travel, the rules of the game are the same.
Buckle up.
Watch your speed. Pay attention to the road.
Not your smartphone.
And drive sober.
Or we'll pull you over. Because the penalties for unsafe behavior on the road can be fines, imprisonment, or even death.
When this guy says he wants to hit the road, he means this, not this. Be a highway hero and help save lives. Never ride or drive impaired, or let your friends do it. Riders, gear up with a DOT-compliant helmet and protective wear because you aren't invincible, and the highway is really hard. Drivers, remember, watch out for motorcycles. Always use your turn signals and check your blind spots before changing lanes. Drive and ride safe so we can all enjoy the road, not hit it.
I'm going skydiving this weekend. I'm making my own parachute.
Well, I'm gonna cut down this tree single-handedly.
I don't wear my safety belt.
What? That's just crazy.
You don't know what could happen next.
Someone could be texting and run a red light, and then they could...
But a safety belt increases your chances of surviving a crash by 45%.
We're trying to save your life.
Wear your safety belt.
You're crazy not to.
Why is it so crucial to get an inspection done?
Well, the main reason is to save lives. The parts that we inspect often have conditions that don't show a failure until they fail. So even though cars today may have an engine or transmission that lasts much longer than it did in the past, that doesn't mean the rest of the car will. In fact, a lot of cars today have replaced steel and cast iron parts with aluminum and plastic parts. They're always trying to make things smaller and lighter to get better fuel economy and reduce emissions, but sometimes that means those parts may not hold up as long as the previous parts did. Now, the reason we do this again is because those parts can fail, and the only way we know that they're failing is to do an inspection.
Sarah Ladyman. I'm a motor vehicle inspector for the Missouri State Highway Patrol Troop C. One of my favorite parts about my job is school bus inspections. I have 2 children of my own, and making sure that they are safe to and from school is very important to me. And I also really enjoy making sure that other children are safe. The Highway Patrol is very family oriented. It allowed me to have a flexible schedule for my kids. I am able to attend their field trips, their school parties. I encourage anybody to work for the Missouri State Highway Patrol motor vehicle inspections because it's very rewarding knowing that you've done something to make Missouri highways safe.
Steve, how do I know when my car needs brakes?
Well, some brake systems have a wear indicator that rubs on the rotor when the pads are getting close to the end of their life. This can make a squealing noise, often when you don't have your foot on the brake. But in other cases, we have times where the pads wear all the way down to the point of danger. That's why it's so critical to have an inspection done. Let me explain how the system works for you. So as you drive down the road, your wheel rotates, and at the same time, the wheel studs are spinning the rotor. This is the brake rotor right here. The brake rotor always rotates when your wheel rotates. Over the brake rotor is what's called a caliper with 2 brake pads inside that when you apply the brakes, hydraulic oil squeezes those pads into the rotor to stop your car. So as you drive down the road, that force pushes the pad into the rotor to slow down the car. Okay? Now, as time progresses, the pads are the wearable component. This friction material begins to wear down, which it's designed to do. If we inspect it regularly or have these wear indicators tell us that we're getting close to the end of the life of that pad, then we can have that replaced at relatively low cost, just like having a cavity done at the dentist. Relatively low cost. But if we ignore that and those pads wear completely down, the metal part of the pad starts to rub on the rotor and starts grinding, and you'll hear a grinding noise whenever you apply the brakes. When that occurs, the pad that normally looks like this, these are about half worn out, okay? That pad ends up looking like this one. Okay, there's no material at all. We have metal actually grinding into the rotor surface. And at that time, if you completely ignore it, this will happen to that rotor and completely destroy it. Okay, at this point, you're looking at a lot of cost, and this is dangerous. This can very easily cause an accident. This is what you can compare to a root canal at the dentist. So instead of letting it go this far and endangering your life, it's much better to have an inspection done to make sure that this doesn't happen on your vehicle. This brake rotor here and pad are still intact, although used, would supply normal braking power. Now this rotor over here and pad has been severely worn because whoever was driving this car neglected to notice the warning signs, which was probably noise, grinding, perhaps they just turned up the radio. But this counts for much less braking power when we have metal-to-metal contact as opposed to the friction riding on the rotor surface. The braking performance is greatly affected. This is why it's so critical to have an inspection, because the amount of time that brakes last is unpredictable depending on how the car is operated. Since the very beginnings of the automobile, we've had tires. Tires are rubber, they're round, they rotate as we go down the road. I'm here next to a 1942 Chevy, and this tire here is made out of nylon cord. As tires have progressed over the years, they've gone from nylon to polyester to belted tires, which are different compounds together, and eventually to what we have today is the modern radial tire. The modern radial tire lasts a lot longer. In the old days, we might get 30, 40,000 miles if we were lucky. Now we sometimes get 80 or more thousand miles out of a radial tire. They're also safer, they're better to absorb shock, they run cooler, and are much better choice for today's vehicles. The one thing we haven't been able to do until recently, though, is monitor tire pressure within the tire without actually physically sitting down with a tire gauge and measuring that pressure. Due to our busy schedules, many of us aren't very good at physically checking our tire pressures with a gauge. If the tires are low, a blowout can occur and can lead to an accident. In the 90s, work began on tire pressure monitoring systems that could electronically monitor the tires and advise the driver of a low tire pressure or even indicate tire pressures on the dash. In 2008, tire pressure monitoring systems were mandated by the U.S. government on all vehicles less than 10,000 GVW, gross vehicle weight. This led to a great decrease in tire-related accidents. The latest development that's being worked on are embedded tire sensors. These are small chips installed in the rubber across the face of the tire in different locations. The idea is we measure temperature instead of pressure. If the outer edges of the tire are hotter, the tire's low on air. If the inner edge or the center of the tire is hotter, we have too much pressure. This might even lead to an indication of the need for a wheel alignment, because if the wheels are towed in too much, the two outer edges will be warmer than the rest of the tire, which may allow a display of "have your alignment checked" on the dash of the vehicle. This is being worked on by Goodyear and Michelin. This technology is similar to the chip that might be on a sensor in a coat when you leave a department store and a siren goes off because they accidentally forgot to remove it. These don't have a battery. They're actually energized by a component in the fender, so those chips can be very inexpensive and the tires won't be excessively more expensive.
Driver's Examiner Terry McElroy. I'm assigned to Troop C headquarters. The excitement of giving a person their driving test, whether they be an old driver or a younger driver. They're coming in to take their written permit test or a driving test, and see on an older driver, seeing the sense of accomplishment that they have when they're coming in and they finish that driving test. Or a 15-year-old that comes in, a novice 15-year-old, very excited about what's going on and a little apprehensive about what's going to take place, and seeing their excitement on their face when they go out and they take that driving test again, and they get that paperwork again, and they go outside and they're jumping up and down with parents and everyone, and they're high-fiving everyone, and just knowing that in some small way I was able to put the best drivers out of Missouri roads on that particular day. That is why I came to the Highway Patrol.
Part of an officer's job is to conduct traffic stops when the officer has a reasonable suspicion of a traffic or criminal violation by the driver or a passenger. Being stopped by an officer can be a stressful experience for the driver and passengers. It can be stressful for the officer too. For the purposes of this video, the term officer is used to mean a state trooper, a city police officer, or a county deputy sheriff. In this video, we'll explain what you should do if you are pulled over by a law enforcement officer. Knowing what to do and what to expect during the stop will help you stay safe and make the experience less stressful for everyone. When you see the emergency lights behind you, the most important thing to do is to stay calm. If you are pulled over, here is what you should do. Activate your turn signal and pull off the highway or to the side of the roadway as soon as it is safe to do so. Turn off the engine and turn off the radio or any other audio devices. Stay in your vehicle unless the officer tells you to get out of the vehicle. Keep your hands on the steering wheel or in a visible location so they are easily observable. Turn on your interior lights if you are pulled over at night to make it easier for you and the officer to see. The officer may also use a spotlight for additional visibility. The officer may come up to your vehicle on either side. When the officer approaches, remember to lower the window nearest the officer so you and the officer can better communicate. Wait for the officer's instructions before reaching for your driver's license or vehicle documents. Be sure to follow all the officer's instructions. This applies to any passengers in the vehicle as well. This is what you can typically expect from an officer who pulls you over. The officer should explain why you were stopped.
Good morning. My name is Trooper Cervantes with the Arizona Highway Patrol. The reason for the stop today is I got you going 70 in a posted 55 zone, and I also noticed that your registration is expired.
I'm sorry, I'm running late for work, and I didn't know my registration was expired.
May I have your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance, please?
Sure.
The officer will return to your vehicle and will typically explain whatever action is being taken. The officer may issue a warning, a traffic ticket, or take another necessary action. If the officer does not explain his or her actions, you may ask the officer to do so.
I'm issuing you a citation for your speed and your expired registration. There's a court envelope to assist you with anything else. Please check your mirrors as you pull back into the road and drive safe.
Thank you.
If you know there is a weapon in the vehicle, let the officer know during your first conversation.
Good morning. I'm Officer David Hightower with the Tempe Police Department. The reason I pulled you over today is for speeding. May I please see your driver's license, proof of insurance, and vehicle registration, please?
Officer, I want you to know that I have a gun in my glove compartment.
Thank you for telling me of the handgun. I'm going to ask that you refrain from opening the glove box during this traffic stop. May I please see your driver's license, proof of insurance, and vehicle registration, please?
Remember, wait for the officer's instructions before reaching for your documents. If your driver's license or other information is not easily accessible, advise the officer before trying to retrieve it.
My license is on my backpack on the back seat.
Okay, with your right hand, you may reach back, grab your backpack, place it on your lap, and retrieve your driver's license.
Here you go.
Thank you, sir. I'll be right back.
Some states have mobile driver's licenses, or MDLs. Here is what to do if you are pulled over and have an MDL.
Good afternoon, I'm Corporal Thompson with the Florida Highway Patrol. I stopped you because you were going 71 miles per hour in a 55 speed zone. I also noticed you weren't wearing your seatbelt. May I see your driver license, vehicle registration, and proof of insurance, please?
Here's my vehicle registration and proof of insurance. Can I use my mobile driver license?
Yes, show me your QR code, please. Okay. I'll be back in just a few minutes.
In some cases, the officer will not have the technology needed to receive data from an MDL. If that's the case, you are still required to provide your physical credential and not use your MDL.
Good afternoon, I'm Deputy Martin with the Fayette County Sheriff's Office. The reason I stopped you today is because you were going 50 in a 35 zone. Do you have your driver's license, vehicle registration, and proof of insurance, please?
Can I use my mobile driver's license?
I'm sorry, I'm not equipped to take the data off your device. Can I get your physical driver's license, please? Thank you, I'll be back in a few minutes.
Good afternoon, Trooper Sherman, State Highway Patrol. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. The reason I have you stop is because you came out of your lane of travel. Did you realize you did that?
No, sir.
Do you have your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance with you?
Yes, sir.
I noticed the odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from your breath. How much alcohol have you had to drink?
Only 2 beers.
Only 2 beers?
In some cases, the officer may ask you to get out of the vehicle. If this happens, keep your hands visible, exit the vehicle, and stand where the officer directs you to stand.
Okay, I'm gonna have you take a step out of the car. I'm gonna have you do some standardized field sobriety tests. If you could just walk straight to the front of my cruiser.
If you disagree with an officer's decision or course of action, do not prolong the contact by arguing with the officer. You may contest the enforcement taken in court through established legal channels. Don't worry, you are not admitting guilt by accepting and signing a traffic ticket. However, if you refuse to sign a traffic ticket, you may be arrested. If you think an officer acted inappropriately, contact the officer's agency and ask to speak to a supervisor. It's best to do this as soon as possible after the stop. Following these procedures will help make a traffic stop a safe experience for everyone. This video is based on the document What to Do and Expect When Stopped by Law Enforcement, January 2022 edition, published by the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, and the National Sheriff's Association.